Hello, Mrs. Lavery. It's your girl, Alicia. Okay, so when we received this project, we were talking about the periodontal ligament. And of course, I went crazy and was like, oh my God, how are we going to remember all of these fibers and what they do, where they go, what their purpose is? So I figured I would do this for my project. Okay, I've also included some of my favorite phrases from the Hudson Valley Dental Hygiene Program. So let's see if you can catch them all. Okay, so today, Mrs. Lavery, I know you struggle with the concept of the periodontal ligament. So don't worry, let me give you some strategies to help facilitate some success in this area, okay? Start out by describing what the periodontal ligament actually is. So I would describe it as a type of connective tissue that fills up the space between the bone and then between the root of the tooth. So it kind of essentially connects the tooth to the bone. Simple enough, right? So it also has a very complex vasculature and it has many different fibers and cells and such. We have our favorite cell, the fibroblast, which as we know is the most abundant cell in connective tissue. It also gives rise to collagen and many other different fibers. The collagen fibers are responsible for the strength and cushioning, which we obviously are going to need in the oral cavity. They also give rise to osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Osteoblasts build bone and osteoclasts break down bone. So this is necessary for when you, say you have orthodontics and you're moving teeth millimeter by millimeter. The bone has to slowly break down in order to regenerate and move the tooth, and then it slowly builds back up. So that's why. We also need compressive forces with the osteoclasts and osteoblasts when we're biting down on a surface to maintain bone structure. But that's a whole nother topic. So, you good? You staying with me? We good? Okay, good. Now, the PDL, which we've abbreviated in the essence of time management, which is a skill that we're going to need to really perfect. There's too many syllables. We're back. So the PDL is also responsible for a sensation called proprioception. This unique sensation is what gives us the ability to detect even the smallest grain of sand in our mouth. So you know when we go to the beach and you get a piece of sand and then you crunch and you're like, ah, and then it sends all these shivers down your body. That's your body's way of the PDL telling you, hey, this doesn't belong here, this doesn't feel right. So that's that. Fascinating, I know. Now, we all know from lecture that the PDL is derived from the dental sac. Clearly, the PDL is critical to the oral structure, but more to come on that topic. Hey, now you're going to hear this word a lot, Sharpie's fibers. These are the different fibers that help make up the periodontal ligament. These fibers are mineralized ends of the fibers that connect to the alveolar bone and cementum into the periodontium. Either one end or both ends can be mineralized. Then they break down into subgroups from there, which is what we're going to go over here. Okay, so I thought a hands-on learning activity would be ideal for this. Okay, so for this hands-on activity, I have this chart here, okay, and they are broken down into 3 principal groups. The first group we have is the alveodental ligament, which have 5 subgroups, and then we have the interdental transeptal ligament, and then we have the hot topic of the gingival fiber group. So for this activity, I thought what we would do is you would reach in a little jar, okay, and then you would pick out, these are Twizzlers, because they represent our fibers, and we would correlate what color you picked out to the color on the chart, and this is blue, obviously. So this says it is located in the lamina propria and extends over the crest and incline apically between the lamina propria of the gingival periosteum of the alveolar bone. It protects the deeper PDL. This is called the dentoperiosteal ligament. So what we would do is take this, and we would take our little tack here, and we would stick it through both ends, and we would put it on the chart where it belongs, according to the description. So, located in the lamina propria and extends over the crest and incline apically. So we would come over here, and we would say, this looks like this is where this goes here. So we would stick it in here, and then we would stick it in here. And then we have one fiber lined up. I thought I would save you from having to stare at my mug the whole time. So I brought you closer to my activity. So again, what we would do is reach in here, grab out whatever fiber we're trying to represent here, which would be green, and this green one represents the transeptal group. So we would read the description. It's superior to the alveolar crest and embeds in cementum and holds the teeth close together. It resists mesial and distal tooth separation. So I like this one. This is the one, like I said, that holds the teeth together. So that one would go right about in between here and holds everything together. Okay? So we would pick back in here. I have to say that the alveodental ligament is the easiest for me once I got into it because it literally just tells you where they're located. So that one wasn't too bad once I started getting into it. Okay, so now we'll pick this one out, and this one is black and circular, so I would refer to my diagram, which was down here. So this says located in the lamina propria. It acts as a purse string to keep marginal tissues in place. It's a circular ligament, so we would just look on here, and where it says that it's located would be right up around here. Kind of holds everything together. Good. Next we have is the orange one. It says it's the most common group running from cementum to alveolar bone obliquely. It resists intrusive forces and rotational forces. This is the oblique group. So according to this description, it runs obliquely, and it's the most common one. So that would be running right up along here. So that would be located right about there, and you can see all of these oblique lines, which is why it's the most common group. Okay. Next we have purple. This is near the apex of the root. It resists extrusive and rotational forces. This is the apical group. Again, it's right where it says it's located by the apex. So we put this guy down here. Kind of hard to push in together. Next we have is pink. Okay, so the pink one down here says that it's located in the lamina propria again and arises from the alveolar crest and attached to alveolar bone. This is the alveogingival ligament. So this one would go right up around here from the crest to the bone. Yellow is going to be between the cementum of multi-rooted teeth. It is the interradicular group, and it resists intrusive, extrusive, tilting, and rotational forces. So interradicular, as we know, means in between the teeth, or in between the roots. So that would be right over here. Just as that. So we have a black piece of licorice, just a plain black one, not in a circular shape as the other group was, and this would represent the alveolar crest group, and this originates from the alveolar crest to the cervical cementum. It resists tilting, intrusive, extrusive, and rotational forces. So this is going to go right up around this area. Then we come to the red Twizzler, which is down here. And it's located in the lamina propria and extends from the cervical cementum to the free gingiva here. So the cervical cementum, and we'll go right about here. And he just kind of hangs out in this area and heads on up this way. And last but not least, we have our brown, okay? And this one says it is straight across, just inferior to the alveolar crest group. Resists tilting and rotational forces. This is the horizontal group. So that's pretty easy. Horizontal group right there. So there we have our different fiber groups and what they do. I also just wanted to bring some clinical considerations your way to watch out for. You would want to watch for widening of the PDL, and you would see this radiographically, and this would happen due to occlusal trauma, which is essentially hitting the tooth in an unideal way. If the ligaments continue to be damaged, then mobility may start to occur, and this is a concern because just as if you were to bend a paperclip too much back and forth, it presents with metal fatigue, and then it would eventually break, and the same would happen to your connective tissues. Too much stress on it would weaken it, and then it eventually may have your teeth fall out. So you can see the widening of the PDL along this area here. It's a little wider than the rest of them if you compared them. And this is just a picture of an unideal bite where the teeth are not connecting and occluding as they should. So I hope you enjoyed this little project presentation, and I know it's a lot of information, so if you need time to take it in and reflect, I understand. So if you have any more questions, you can feel free to email me and we can set up a time to meet, okay? Thank you, bye.